Okay, we're learning Leilu Nishmas, Imi Marasi, Esther Bas Shlem Zalman Levi, and tonight is the yahrzeit of Yehuda Meir ben Rav Yaakov. That was with Meir Shapiro, who began the Daf Yomi that has been so successful and spreading Torah throughout Klal Yisrael. So it's his 92nd yahrzeit. He died a very young man, but a very fruitful life. We're also learning Refuah Shlema for Hadassah Beila Bas Frumet Rachel. She's undergoing surgery, I think, on Thursday. Shir B'suras Taivas by everybody. Okay, we're up to Mem Dalit Amid Aleph. Nice Gemara. Nice Gemara, not too difficult. The Mishnah told us, called Shiesh Matirin, anything that becomes mutter through another venue, through something else. Bein lo Adam, bein lo Mizbeach, whether it's for Achilas Adam or Achilas Mizbeach, we know that by now, right? Chayav lo Mishum Pigel Yivichayev because of Pigel. So the dam would matter. It would matter the murim, so it's shaykh pigel the murim. It also matters the basa, so it's shaykh pigel in the basa. It also matters the shirayin to be poured, so it's shaykh pigel in all of these things. Tan Rabbanan. Now this is picking it up in the middle of a conversation. The beginning of this brisa is the source for pigel, guys, is es besar zevach shlamav. It's the pasuk is a pasuk. So the source for pigel is shlamim. So what tonight's shir primarily is going to do is how do you expand pigel beyond the scope of shlamim? That it should be, it should be beyond that. It should be limited to shlamim. So that's what we want to know. So maybe so.
Takes 43 blocks to get.
Well, again, we're still doing pigel. Talking about maybe elakiyotza bishlamim, or no, maybe it's only shaykh pigel something kiyotza bishlamim, something that what is similar to shlamim, right? Ma shlamim yuchadim necholim l'shnei yomim v'layla echad, just like shlamim are unique, that what they're eating for 2 days and a night. Af kol nechal l'shnei yomim v'layla echad. Nechal liyom v'layla minayin. How do you know a chatos or an asham which is eaten for a day and a night? How do you know a shaykh pigel over there? Talmud Laimar, it says mibisar zevach shlamav. Now, what is mibisar? Kol sheshiyarav. Anything that its remnants ne'acholim are eaten. So in other words, mibisar zevach shlamav. So I'm going to learn from there, not only shlamim, but even a chatas or an asham which is eaten. Since the chatas and asham is eaten, I would go ahead and include that le'inyan pigel. Now, oila shein shiyarecha ne'acholim minayin, the carbon oila which is totally burnt. How do you know it's shaykh pigel over there? Because again, you're not eating anything. Talmud Laimar zevach. Mibisar is zevach shlamav. Now, so the word zevach is extra, and that I'm going to teach me the zevach afilu what a carbon oila, afilu carbon oila. Now. How do you know that it's shaykh pigel by an oilus oif or a chatas oif? How do you know it's shaykh pigel by the flour offerings known as carbon minchas? Atshani marbe like shemesh al mitzayra. I'll even go up to the extent of including the loig shemesh al mitzayra, that is shaykh pigel by that loig of shemen. Talmud Laimar, the pasuk says. Now this is in the Inyan Tumah. The pasuk says. The Daber al Aaron Velbana v'Yinasru mikotche b'nei Yisrael v'Yichalu Hashem kotshi, and we learned that previously in the Masechta v'Yinasru. This is the Inyan Tumah, right? When they're tamei, they should go ahead and stay away. Asher heim makdishim li. Okay, so now you have a source by Asher heim makdishim to teach me what? To teach me like Shemesh HaMetzora, and how do you know that? And how do you know that pigel that the halachas of Noiser would apply to that as well? In other words, we could be limited to just shlamim linyan Noiser. We could be in linyan pigel. How can we expand it? So we're going to learn out a 2-step process. It says, "V'asi Noiser chilul chil mituma." So once you know tumah is by all karbanis, fellas, once you know it, because it says Asher heim makdishim li, all them. So v'asi Noiser, we'll learn out chilul from tumah to Noiser. And now, what about v'asi pigel? Avin mi noiser. And once we know noiser, that's in everything. Pigel also will be in everything. Okay, so at the end of the day, you've included everything le'inyan noiser. You've included everything le'inyan pigel, and for the Gemara me'achish ha'seifel l'rabis kol davar. Now that at the end of the day you included everything, lamin nema shlamim. Why does it? Why did it say pigel by shlamim at the bottom line? Me'ata lecha ma shlamim yuchadim sheish lamatirim. Okay, this is how we started, right? In other words, this is like the bottom line. Ma shlamim yuchadim sheish lamatirim bein la'adam bein lemizbeach. It has the matirim bein la'adam bein lemizbeach. Af kol sheish lamatirim bein la'adam bein lemizbeach. Chayav malav mishum pigel. A shlamim is a carbon. Part of the reason, guys, it's called a shlamim. Everyone has enough from it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gets the imurim, the kahanim get the chaz of a shoik, and the baal gets the basa. So what's the uniqueness about it? That it's something that it matters bein la'adam and mizbeach. It matters the imurim, it matters the basa. So to what pigel the shaykh by all of that. Okay, let's see some Rashis over here.
There's no pizza. Then what?
Then there's no pigel.
There's no pizza, right?
Not shaykh.
Right. So this is.
When it says menachas over here, it means a regular mincha. The only mincha that doesn't have.
There's no pigel, right?
Correct. That was the Mishnah. Okay, so let's see some Rashis. Let's see some Rashis. Ayena Mevi, Librius. Reisha de Braisa b'Toras Kahanim, Linyan Pigol, Ketani. Yachalo Yehe Chayev Ella Al Shlomim Bilvad. I might think you only chayev in Shlomim because that's the parsha what of Pigol. Talmud Loimer Linyan Tuma. It says regarding Tuma, as we concluded at the end, V'Yinazru Mikadshe. Right, and it says Lo. So it says Chilul by Tuma, and that's speaking about everything. So guys, important. Tuma includes everything. It says Chilul. Memela by Noiser, where it says Chilul, also includes everything. Upigel ba'avin avain, and it says by Noiser avain, and we learned to pigel. So in other words, it's a 3-step process. First you establish Tuma, then you establish Noiser, and then you establish pigel. Good. Maybe I'll only get something like Shlomim. Why? We'll see this a klalu prat. The name of ma prat mefurish nechol mishlei yom v'leimechad afwad a bechor, which is 2 days and a night. I would say what a bechor, which is what 2 days and a night. Tamaloyma b'besar ribuhu. It's a ribu. The chsiv gabe pigol b'besar zevach hashlomim v'alo koi v'nefesh oicheles minu avoy netisa. So that teaches me what b'besar that even anything that's 2 days and a night. Okay. Once I include more than just shlomim, arba imohem, I'll even include like shem and shel mitzayra. I'm spending a lot of time with this, guys, because the Mishnah we're going to be going through all these dinim. They're going to go back over this brisa. I'll even include the like shem and shel mitzayra. Now, how would the like shem become pigel? So if the carbon becomes pigel, the carbon asham. Again, the like shemen is the asham that the Mitzvah brings on the 8th day after his body shave chutz lamachne, and that's the one where he's going to put the dam on his ear, on his thumb, and on his toe, right? And now that you're going to take a loig, guys. Let's do this. Do this outside, guys. Listen up. So I'm going to saving a little time. There's 2 kahanim. You take the loig, you pour it into one kohen's left hand. The other kohen goes ahead, takes his finger, spritzes 7 times in front of the oil moed, and then he goes ahead. He puts it on the ear, the thumb, and then he takes. Then the rest is now mutta, and it could be. And he pours the what's left in the hand is poured on the head of the mitzayra. Now you have left over. So if you bring a carbon asham and you have a machshava of chutz lizman, so if the asham mat is the mitzayra, the loig, so memele would be shaykh what. Pigel. B'shayach pigel. So that's what Rashi is telling you. What pigel are we discussing over here? We're discussing in pigel b'dam ha'osham. If you mispagel the dam of the osham, mispagel ha'loig, then the loig becomes what? Pigel. So how do you know that? Tamaloyma le'inyin tuma ashehem makdishim gabe v'inazu ksiv v'yasin noisa chilu mituma ma tuma hakol b'chlal. Again, this is Chatzor for us. Just like tuma, everything is b'chlal. If you have your own Gemara, guys, I should tell you, this is the parts you underline. This is Rashi. This is your say D. This is the, there's so much on a page. There's the parts that you should focus on. I have it here from probably 30 years ago, and when I learn, it just makes things much easier. Of course, I just know what to focus on. So chil chil mituma matuma hakol b'chlal afnais hakol b'chlal. And now nois ksiv ki kodesh Hashem chilel ubetuma ksiv yinazu v'lo yechalalu v'adasi pigul avin avim minaisa. Then we learn pigul. Okay, so what's the Gemara's kasha? If that's the case, fellas, why shlamim? If that's the case, why shlamim? If everything, including everything, then you pigul, why did the Torah go ahead? And is right. And so what was the answer? Just like shlamim has matters other things. Of course, sheish lematirim oila adam either to adam oil mizbeach. The oila yolfa me'emuri shlamim. So what about oila, guys? I said oila what does not have a part that goes to a person. So how do you know Rashi's asking a kasha? How do you know carbon oil is shaykh pigul? If you're telling me it has to be similar to a shlamim, it's not, because the oil doesn't matter anything to what to. So the Gemara says, "V'oil yolfa me'imurei shlamim, v'chini imurei kol kachim, u'basa kol kachim ne'acholum yalfim v'sas shlamim, shein lematirim elo adam v'chayiv alav." So just like the imurim, so you learn out from the shlamim, so too you learn out the oil is imurim that it's shaykh pigul.
And then they used to get the skins.
Yeah. Okay, matters the skin. That's what the Mishnah said. Okay, now the umoitzi aniyas hakaimitz. I skipped. Okay. Ha'oila dama mater es besar lemizbeach and va'oira l'kahanim. So we know you don't look ahead. Oila sa'oif dama mater es besar lemizbeach. The oila sa'oif the dam mater is the basar lemizbeach. Chata sa'oif dama mater es besar l'kahanim. Now param and esrafim that param of Param Mashiach Helam Davar and Yom Kippur who seir man esrafim the seir of the Helam Davar of Vaydazara or the seir of Yom Kippur. Dam mater es emreim likare. Their dam mater is the imurim, so it's shaykh pigul because the imurim is it's muta. Umoitzini es hakaimis es alvayim hakatayris. Why? Because all these things don't have a mater. Uminchas kahanim, uminchas kohen Mashiach, uminchas nesachim. Minchas kohen Mashiach is what is the chaviti kohen gadol that's burnt in the morning and in the evening. Okay, uminchas nesachim the hadam. So the minchas nesachim is the nesech, which could be brought by itself. So it's no matir, and dam itself matters other things. Rav Shimon Oimer, this is Chazar of the Mishnah. Mashlamim yuchadim sheyesh by al mizbeach achitzayin v'chayv alav. Shlomim, which is the source of pigul, right? Rav Shimon says is only on the mizbeach achitzayin. Avkol sheyesh mizbeach achitzayin chayav lo mishum pigul. Yatsu, this would exclude paraman esrafim usir esrafim hayil shein al mizbeach achitzayin kishlamim, because the dam is put on the mizbeach azav. The dam is put on the golden mizbeach. So since it's not similar to shlamim, it's not shaykh pigul according to Rav Shimon. Hayil shein mizbeach achitzayin kishlamim in chayavim b'shem pigul. Amamar. And again, Amamar, you're going back over a brisa, right? Amamar, you're going back over a brisa. Kiyoytze b'shlamim. Now this is the way we began the shir a little bit. If you look, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 lines down. Tan Rabbanan. In other words, since the Torah's pasuk of pigels is speaking about shlamim, what does kiyoytze b'shlamim means? What carbon is similar to a shlamim that there would be a din of pigel? So Amamar kiyoytze b'shlamim, ma'inin. What is that? It's bechor. The bechor the nechel shnei yamim v'layla echad. The bechor is eaten for 2 days and a night. Now, b'may asi, how could you learn out bechor? Guys, you're saying kiyoytze b'shlamim. You're taking it as a given that what? You're taking it as a given that there would be a din of pigel by what? By bechor. Why? Because kiyotze b'shlamim, that it's 2 days and a night. The Gemara wants to know how, in fact, would you be able to learn this out? B'mayasi, even memetzinu, if you can learn out this simple memetzinu, just like you find this is 2 days and a night, this pigel, so too bechor, which is 2 days and a night, this pigel. Ikal mifrach, you have a kasha, mal shlamim shein tu'unim smicha unisachim utnufa chaz b'shaik. So you can't learn out Bechar from Shlamim. Shlamim is unique. You have to do Smich on the carbon as opposed to Bechar. You have to bring the Sachim as opposed to Bechar. You wave the chest and the right flank as opposed to Bechar. So Memela is piggled by that. So the Gemara says, Elamei im hayachal yachal. Okay, it's a double klal. Hani tre klali the samchi adadininu. These are two klalim that are next to each other. So how could you go ahead and learn anything from that? Okay, the prat is written afterwards. So Amarava kidi army b'marava. They said in Eretz Yisrael kol makom Amaravina kol makom she'atam meitzah shnei klalis hasmuchim zelazeh. When you find two klalim that are similar to each other, hitl prat beinehem. You go ahead and you throw the prat between them, and here's the prat of shlamim. V'doinim b'chlalu prat, and therefore you down a klal uprat. So kasha. So how would you know? How would you know then? How would you know b'char? How would you know b'char?
You say klal prat klal, there's two. Why
Like-
you lose the same? Whenever you find two klal and a prat afterwards.
It seems that we're not dashing as klal prat klal. So I think this is a kasha bemis, guys. If you look back at the Gemara before, here's the way I'm going to suggest pshat is Tan Rabbanan. So we're going into 13 lines from the top. Maybe the only thing you can go ahead and include would be a bechar. So mashlamim yichodim nechol mishnayom v'layla echad, af kol nechol mishnayom v'layla echad, nechal liyoim v'layla minayin tamlamim v'sar. So the v'sar l'chayro would include anything, would include a bechar. Maybe. Look at Rashi, guys. Look at Rashi before it gets wide. Hitl prat beinehem, hakosav achareihem, hitl beinehem, v'doinam hilkach. Ilav de Rabbi Rachmanim b'besar, tchila havi dainina lei b'ma prat mefurish. In other words, without the limit of besar, you would dash him. You would dash him as a klal prat. So the besar goes ahead and takes it off the table. Besar takes it off the table. So l'chayra, that's pshat over here. You look at the last places on the page. You need the extra pasuk. The mechalu prat le marbi ela hadoim prat b'chol stadim. It has to be completely. So, in other words, you would not be able to learn a b'char if not for the basar. And of course, it's not similar in all the ways. It's not totally similar.
So the answer is how you learn b'char.
Yes. So, but you learn b'char from basar, but you would have been limited because the kalu prat you wouldn't be able to learn b'char. Okay, I think that's the pshat. Again, that's what I think. That's what I think. Weiter. So again, you're being marb. The Brisa went through it, and you said you're going to include the like shemesh al mitzayra that it's shayich pigel. Now, guys, outside, there's two possibilities. There's two possibilities of the like. One, you mafagel the asham. And therefore it gets schlepped along, or you bring the like shemen by itself, and then when you spritz it 7 times in front of that permits it to be put on the behinus, and eventually it's going to permit it to be eaten. So it's shayich pigel there also, maybe. Okay, so those are the two possibilities. So, when he spritzes that, let's say he goes ahead. He's not creating pigel in the first scenario, he's creating pigel on the Yasham. I mean,
right. But the second scenario.
Second one, there's no dam. We're speaking about
sprinkling the.
Yeah.
I think you said yesterday that you could bring the log up 13 days later.
Right. So now I'm bringing the log. And in the protocol of the log, I'm spritzing the log in front of the oil ma'id. So let's say I have machshava to go ahead and then eat it l'machar.
Even if you're personally used that you're gonna have
The kohen eats it. The kohen eats the shemen. So in other words, it's shaykh pigel just independently. It's shaykh pigel independently in the log. Okay. So now we're going to see gets involved. Now, money. Who is the Tana who's of the opinion that it's Shaykh Pigel by a Loik Shem and Shel Levina of Loik Shem of Mitzayra? The Tanya Loik Shem and Shel Mitzayra Chayav Lam Mishum Pigel Divrei Reb Meya. Rashi, first wide line. Chayav Lam Mishum Pigel, slow. In Ba'im Asham Upigel Ba'asham. Okay, so it's not coming independently, it's coming with the Asham. You're creating the Pigel in the Asham. Even though if you wanted, you could go ahead and bring it independently. Kidul Kamon. So l'chayra, since pshat, since you could bring it independently, l'chayra, it's not the asham that is being materit. Fellas, you hear? Since you could bring it independently, separately, zichalein, right? So you see, it's not the asham that is going ahead and creating you be able to eat it. So it's not the matir. If it's not the matir, l'chayr, it's not shaykh pigel. That's Rashi's kasha. Islay Reb Meya. This is what I underlined. The chieviu ima asham, dama asham hu hemetirai. In other words, lematan b'hoinos v'shiyarav la'achila. In other words, it depends how you bring it. If you bring it with the asham, if you bring it tzechalein, you're right, it matters itself. If you bring it with the asham, then it's the dama the asham that matters in shaykh pigel. That's Reb Meya. That's Reb Meya. It's very geschmack. Right, again, that's Rameya. So, and the heta would be that now you can put it on the ears and the toes and the thing and the thumb, and you could eat it. That's pshat. Okay. So now, when the Brisa said to include like shemen of Mitzayra, l'chayra it's the Tana Reb Meya. That's what I've been saying. L'chayra it's the Tana Reb Meya. Good. Ema Seifa, the Seifa of the Brisa, guys. Again, we had a long-winded Brisa. Umaitziani, I'll exclude Minchas Nesachim v'Hadam. That's Asal Rabbanan. Why? The Tanya. Nischei Behema, the libations of the animals, Chayav Malay Mishum Pigel. Fnei Shedam HaZevach Matirin. Likorev, Divrei Meya. You know what? It's the dam of the animal that should bring the Sachim. So Reb Meya holds the Sachim, it is shaykh pigel, but what did our Brisa say? Nesachim, it's not shaykh pigel. So you have the Reisha Reb Meya because of Mitzayra, and you have the Seifa Nesachim no pigel, then it can't be Reb Meya. Amrulai, they told Reb Meya, for the other maybe as Zevachim Hayoim and Nesachav Mikanas Asar Yomim, you can bring the Nesach until what? Halachically, guys, how does this affect us? Shvuas. That's why you don't say tachna. I thought Shavuos you don't say tachna, right, for 7 days afterwards. Because why? Because you go ahead and be mashlim. You go ahead. Yeah. So now, Amalehem said Rabbi Meya to them, Afani lo yamarti ela b'boim imazevach. Okay. So now, bottom line is, that's what I mentioned. The bottom line is you got a kasha. The first part of the Brisa says like Shem and Shel Mitzayra. That's clearly Reb Meya. The second part of the Brisa is clearly the Chachamim by Nesachim. How do you reconcile the two? That's what we're trying to do right now, guys. Now, Amar Reb Yosef, yeah.
The only Nesachim is 10 days or the whole animal for 7 days, I mean, not by Shavuos.
By Shavuos, yeah, you can bring, right, in Achnami. Amar Reb Yosef, Hamani is Rebihi. Hamani, who's in other words, this Brisa is not Reb Meya. This price is Rebbe. Pirish, guys, so what? What do you have to say? Rebbe holds it's Shaykh by Mitzayra, like Shemesh from Mitzayra Pigel, and it's Shaykh, and it's not Shaykh Pigel by Nesachim. Yeah? In other words, we had a problem. We have Remeya in the ratio, we have the Chacham in the Seifa. If I say it's not Remeya, it's somebody else, then it's Rebbe, then it works out. We just have to get Rebbe's Shitas down. Where do you see Rebbe holds that way? Says the Gemara Money Rebbe, like Shemesh Mitzayra, mat noisav. It's 7 spritzings. The 7 spritzings, sharula, it permits it. Mat noisav sharilei, and when it does permit it, mat noisav mispaglilei. Then it becomes what? It becomes pigel, even when it comes by itself. The Tanya, like Shemesh Mitzayra, my alimba, the like Shemesh Mitzayra is in the meal in it. Until the dam of the asham is brought. Nizuk Adam Leinenav Leimoilin. It's in Nishtahi and Nishtaher. Rabbi Yomer Moilin says Rabbi, this is a din of meila at sheyite mat noisav until you go ahead and do the 7 spritzings. V'shavim, and both the Chachamim and Rabbi agree she'asa ba'achilim midrabanan at sheyite matin sheva till you spritz umatin b'hoinais and you put what the b'hoinais. So very good, guys. Guys, look. So now we're good. We're good. We thought the only man the Amma who holds like Shemin is Reb Meir. That created a problem. No, it's not Reb Meir. It's Rebbe. And we assume that Rebbe holds by Nesachim, that there's no din and pigel. That's Rebbe Yosef's way of reconciling the two. One more time. Right, look at me. We have a stira. When you look at me, your hands are always going to the hands. Right? We have a stira. Here we have Reb Meir in the Reisha. Here we have the Chum in the Seifa. Reb Meir seems to be the only one who says that Shaykh pigel by the like Shemen. Yet Nesachim not, and Reb Meir says Nesachim yes. Good. So you got a problem. And for the Gemara, it's neither. It's what? It's Rebbe. We see Rebbe holds that b'zichalem when you spritz, it works. They're right. This is shaykh pigel. So he's this Reisha, and obviously Nesachim, he would agree that there's no shaykh by Nesachim because you could bring it up to 10 days. Since you can bring it up to 10 days, it's not matter al yedei the carbon sport with. Good. We're good. For a second, we're good. Only a second. Only a second, but we're good for only that second. Says the Gemara. Amru kamei de Rav Yirmiyah. They told Rabbi Yosef's teretz in front of Rabbi Yirmiyah. Agava Rabbi Rabbi Yosef lema ki hamilsa. Agava Rabbi like Rabbi Yosef. Could he say something like this? Hare loig haba mifti atzmai del kulyalma mat noisav sharulei v'loy mifaglinlei. Right? It's brought by itself, and it's matter itself. Yet there's no din of pigel. The Tanya loig shem shel mitzayra chayav lo mishum pigel v'fnei shedam matiroi lebehoinais. The like Shemin of Mitzayra is the Shaykh Pigel, because it matters to put it on the Behoinais. Divrei Reb Meir, Amulay Reb Meir, Loy Oda maybe Ashamay Achshav Loy Mikan Varasar Yamim, Amulahem Afani Leimati Ela Bebayim Asham. I said it only comes with the Asham. I said it only comes by the Asham. Let's see the top Rashi. Let's spend some time. Habab Ifni Atzmai Mitzayra Shehevi Ashamay Hayoim V'Loy Ger La'acha Esem Yamim. Everyone holds the spritzing permits it to be eaten. The hoy of like kiddush b'kli, since it didn't have kedushas haguf, kishenizrak dama asham, lav shirayim they do. It's not as a shirayim. Since the loig wasn't there at the time of the dam, it never got kedusha, so therefore it never became mutar al yedei the dam. V'lei shari lei, and the dam didn't matter it. V'afilu hachi loy mefaglin lei, even though it's shaykh the mechanics of pigel. The mechanics of pigel, the spritzing's gonna matter achila. Nonetheless, the divrei hakol ain't by mishum pigel kidiktani. Afani lo yamarti. Rabbi Meir said, I only said it by only bought the cut. Hilkach by my ish asham nami. Afagav the Rebbe matnoisav shayaron lei loy mefaglan lei. Shem mefagel el adam. I claim it's eshirav mishum the ikish minchas l'sachim. So therefore, it's not possible that Rebbe would say that is shaykh pigel. So you blew it, Rabbi Yosef. Rebbe would not matter but the like shemen. It does not shaykh pigel by the like shemen. So therefore, your teretz that you're giving to answer the brayso that's according to Rebbe can't be, because Rebbe would not agree that a shaykh pigel by like shemen shel mitzayra. Only one is Reb Meir. So elam Rav Yirmiyah lo elam Reb Meir he. Lo elam it's Reb Meir. Okay, so now if it's Reb Meir, what's the problem? Which one? The ratio of the Seifa? The Seifa. Guys, the Seifa is the problem because the Seifa, it says what? That Nesachim, according to Meir, Nesachim, what? It's Shaykh Pigel by Nesachim, yet the Brisa says not. That's a problem. So Visami Mikan Nesachim, and take out Nesachim. Just delete it. And Memel, if you delete it, there's not a problem. It's the Seifa of Nesachim that creates the problem, because he said that Nesachim it's not Shaykh Pigel, and Rameya says it is Shaykh Pigel. Take out Nesachim. That's an easy way to cut. Usually there's a paste after that, but here's just a cut. Rabaya lo'olam loitis tasami. Don't take it out. However, let's cut and paste. The ton of the following. Loig haba ima asham. The loig that comes with the asham. For who adin l'nesachim abayim mazevach, it's shaykh pigel. Again, the loig that comes with the asham, the nesachim that come with the carbon, and then the asham, the dam since it's kodesh, it's gonna in a kli. Again, since the loig is kodesh in a kli, since the nesachim is kodesh in a kli, the dam of the carbon is gonna matter it. For hadatana, and then learn the nesachim above the yatzmai, within the loig above the yatzmai. So in other words, guys, I'm going to say something very nice. Rabbi said two things. Rabbi says it's shaykh by loig and it's shaykh by nesachim. When the loig accompanies the carbon and the nesachim accompany a carbon. Rabbi is of an agreement. What if it's independent? If the nesachim are bought separately and the loig is bought separately, there is no, and that's the way. So don't take it out. Just add to it and add and say. The first case, the Reisha is Taka speaking about a loig, that's brought with a carbon. The second case is speaking about the Sachim, that is brought with a carbon. No, it's not brought with a carbon. Add to that, but if it's brought with a carbon, it would be. And a loig, if it's brought separately, it would not be. That's the way Abaye wants to answer up the Brisa. So again, we attempted Rabbi Yosef, that work. We attempted Rebbe, that did not work. We're concluding it's Reb Meah, and we're cutting and pasting and redoing the brisa to make it make a little more sense. Now, guys, when you cut and paste the brisa, it's not so strange. You got to. I've spoken this out many times. The brisa is called brisa because it was not as finely edited as the Mishnah. When Rebbe didacted the Mishnah, he spent all his money getting all the kisvei. Everyone's what they. And therefore, it was highly edited. The Bryce is from lesson of bar; it's from the outside, and very often it's more wordy than the Mishnah. It's more wordy for that reason because Rebbe was very concise. So over here, it's not like people think, "Oh, you want to make it work." So like it's not like that. It's not like Uncle Elliot, or Mendy. It's not like that. It makes a little sense to say that. That this will be the case. That's the Chsuri Mechsu is not usually it's usually in a Mishnah. Chatas ha'oif dam mates b'sar l'kahanim. Chatas ha'oif the dam mates b'sar l'kahanim. Now, guys, what's the chiddush of you being able to eat chatas ha'oif? There's no shchita, fellas. There's no shchita on chatas ha'oif. It's nevela. In other words, the kohen would take his thumb with a long nail. And he would go ahead and sever. He would go through the back and break the bone and sever it. It's called nevela. So you would think that the mitzvah is to go ahead and do it, but that you could eat it. So you need a sauce. How could you eat a chatas ha'oif? Because you think it's nevela. Minani mili the Tani Levi, a long-winded brisa. Guys, here's the pasuk. Zeh yelecha mikodesh hakadashim. I should go over here. It's much clearer. Zeh yelecha mikodesh hakadashim min ha'esh. Mina eish kol karbonam l'chol min chasam u'l'chol chatasam u'l'chol ashamam. So asher shivu li kodesh kadashim l'cha hu ulvanecha. Okay, at the end of Parshas Kairach, after the rebellion of Kairach, many of the matnas kahuna are listed. So this pasuk is telling us this is what Aaron's getting, him and his sons. They're getting from every carbon, every mincha, every chatas, every asham. They're getting something kodesh kadashim. It's going to be to you and your son. Good, that's what we're saying. So now. We're going to list many halachos, but the really one, our source halacha is, how do you know chatas ha'oif could be eaten? Okay, so now, kol karbonom, the Tani Levi, kol karbonom, the rabbis like shemesh mitzayra, that you could eat it. Salkadai chamina mina eish, the pasuk says, zeh yelecha mikodesh hakadashim mina eish. So I would think only from the eish can the kohen get it, but the loik shemen does not get cooked at all. Therefore it says what? Kasarachmana, V'hai lav ma'asim and eshu kamash malon kol karbonam kol from every carbon you're going to get, including like shemen. Again, this is not what we need. L'chol min chasam l'rabbis min chasaimer u'min chasakenois. Min chasaimer is born on the 16th day of Nisan, and mat is the chadash in the Medina. It's brought from barley. The minchas kenois is the barley carbon of the saita. So salka da'it chamina v'achlu v'asu ashakuba behem. Pasuk says you'll eat and you get a cup. By eating it, the people get a kapara. Uminchas oimer lahater asya. Minchas oimer comes to mater chadash. Uminchas kenois levara oven kosses is coming to go ahead and see if she's guilty or not. So I would think maybe you don't need it. Kamash malon, you do eat it. Ulechol chatasam, this is what we need. L'rabois chatas ha'oif. To be marba a chatas ha'oif, salkadayf, I mean, I would have thought. Nevela, I would think it's nevela, and you can't eat it. So I need a pasuk to tell me that. No, you could eat it. Continuing the limit of the pasuk, l'chol hashamam, l'rabois asham nazir b'asham mitzayra. So asham nazir, guys, a nazir that's tameh. And guys, it's important to know in Hilchos Naziris, the asham does not have to be brought unless the contracted tumah. If they contracted tumah, then you're going to have to go ahead and bring it. So what's the purpose of it? To restart your count. The asham mitzayra, the asham mitzayra. The purpose of that is to mata that he should be able to eat kachim. So it says the Gemara. L'chol hashamam, the Rabbi Sashim Nazav Hashem Mitzayra, Sakadait Chamino lahachshir kasi. They come to be machshir. They come to be to start counting or Mitzayra to permit Kamash Malon. Fred the Gemara, Hashem Mitzayra v'hedya k'siv he can eat it. El Rabbi Hashem Nazav Hashem Mitzayra. It comes to be included that an Hashem Nazav is like Hashem Mitzayra that could be eaten. The pasuk says Asher Yeshivu Zeg Gezel Hager. Okay, outside fellas, outside. Okay. Asham Gezelis. When's it brought? The person goes ahead, he swears falsely to a person that he owes him money, and then you have to pay Keren v'chaimish. Okay. Let's say it's a ger, and the ger dies. And so ger is no yarshim. So that's one of the matnas kahuna. That's one of the matnas kahuna. That you have Gezel Hager, that if someone stole from a ger, lied to that fact, and now he admits it. Okay, so Asher Yeshivu Zeg Gezel Hager, l'chahu. She was totally, you could use it even to be Mekadesh a woman. Okay, Tanya. Okay, next price, fellas, it's chutz over here means the Azara. Pinim means inside the Heichel. That's where the Mizbeach Hazav is, and where the Menorah and the Shulchan. Chutz here means the Azara, means where not outside the Azara, but it means where the Mizbeach HaChitzain is. So now, Tanya, Rebbe Lezainer, Mishnah Rabbi Yossi. Aglili. Higel b'dava hanasa b'chutz. Now we're speaking about the Parman Esrafim. We're speaking about that they're going to be born inside. So now, pigel b'dava hanasa b'chutz. If you pigel in something that is done out in the Azara, pigel b'dava hanasa b'fnim, loy pigel. Okay, what does that mean? Ketzad. Hayoimid b'chutz. He's in the Azara. V'yomar, and he says the following: Hamini shoichi lahazles midamoy lemachar. I'm shechting this for its dam for the next day, like pigel. You know why? Because he's speaking about a parent Yisrafim that should be going inside. So he has a machshava chutz for something that's inside. Like pigel. Shemachshava b'chutz b'dava nasa b'fnim. Because he has a machshava b'chutz and something that's done inside. Like pigel. Haya'oimi b'fnim. He's inside. Ba'ama harini mazeh. I'm sprinkling now. Al minas lahakte imurei u'lishvech shirayim. So he's sprinkling the blood in front of either on the Mizbeach, right? He's putting on the Mizbeach, and then what does he have in mind? To burn the imurim, that's outside, or to spill the blood, that's outside. Lemachar le'pigel shemachshav b'fnim b'davai nasa b'chutz, because he has a machshav inside and something that's done on the outside. Aval hoya oimi b'chutz, he's standing outside in the azara. V'yama arini shoichet lishpech shirayim lemachar or lahakne imurim lemachar pigel. Why? Shemachshava b'chutz b'davar nasa b'chutz. Okay, pretty obvious. Rabbi Shimon Levi. Mikra. What's the pasuk? Pasuk says, but this is by the Parkain Mashiach guys. It says Kasher Yuram Mishar Zevach Hashlamim V'ktir Makayim Al Mizbach Ha'oila. Now, guys, here's pshat. It says in the parsha of Kohen Mashiach, take out the innards, just like it says by Shlomim. But in the parsha, it does speak out you're not saying anything. In other words, it's you're telling me something that's known. You're telling me something we know already. Guys, look at Rashi, about 5 lines up from the bottom. Kasher Yuram, the Parkoim Mashiach, Ksiv, Behafrashas Beimurim. Madla Madlaloi, Mishlomim. He said, like you go ahead and separate from the Shlomim. What are you learning? Linyan Emurim. Hariaf Bezek Kulim B'Furashim. Chele V'Kloyos V'Yaseres. Pirish. It says in the parsha what the imurim are. I don't need shlamim to define it. So what does it mean? Kasher yuram mi shor zevach hashlamim. Ella, says Rashi, labo hekesh hazeh ela l'lamed ala pigel shehu lomad b'chol hakochim shlamim. Ubo lamdecha al elu she'ein pigel noig behen ela kishlamim. Ma shlamim ein poiglin ela al ma'isa avodas chitzonios u'machshavas achilas chitzonios. Shoiched on the Kabul and Moilach Zayrik, I'm an Aslechal Basa, Lishbach Shiraim, Alahak de Muram, Chusas Manoi, Afkan, Achiyachshav avoided Sakliskats. Okay, outside. Guys, outside. It says, Kasher Yuram Mipar Sevach Mishlomim. You look in the Parsha of Vayikra Dalet, it speaks out the Chelev, the Kloyos, the Yiseres, the Kovet, everything goes to Hashem. So what now so you're telling me the Emurim from Shlomim, you know that already. So what is it teaching me? That the din of pigel is only similar to shlamim. Shlamim, everything's outside. You're doing one of the avoiders bachutz in the azara to eat the meat chutz l'zman, to burn the emurim chutz l'zman. The mela, I'm learning out from koyin Mashiach, which is inside. That what it has to be similar to shlamim. That inside, but not inside outside. That's what Rashi told you. Let's see it inside. V'chima bo lamadnu. Mishor zevach hashlamim. Miyata. El makish par koyin Mashiach l'shor zevach hashlamim. Masha zevach hashlamim. Ache yumaysav machshav asay al mizbeach hakitzayin. Just like shlamim, everything we were thinking about was on the outside. Af par koyin Mashiach. Ache yu machshavoysav umaysav al mizbeach hakitzayin. Until what? His machshav and his maisa on the mizbeach hakitzayin. Good. That's Rabbi Loz's din. Amar Rav Nachman, says Rav Nachman. Amar Rabba bar Avua, Amar Rav, in the name of Rav, halacha kriv Elazar, the halacha is like Elazar, Shomim Shem Rav Yosi, that you're not mefagel until you have machshava of chutz b'chutz. So Amar Rabba says, Rava, helchasal l'mashicha. In other words, when you paskin halacha, usually it's this is not happening until the Beis Hamikdash is rebuilt. So helchasal l'mashicha. So Amalei Abaya says Abaya, Elamiyata. According to you guys. Everyone remembers this daf. Kol shchitas kachem loy lisni, because hilchos Mashiach. Why are we learning Zevachim? Why are we learning kachem? If everything right is hilchos Mashiach, why are we learning it? Right? So it says Gemara, Ella. What does it mean? Darish v'kibul schar. The reason we're learning kachem is the darish v'kibul schar. So Chanami darish v'kibul schar. So Rabbi answered, Hachi kamin alcha hilchos olamali. Usually, when you state the word, I'm not saying you're not going to get schar, but hilchas olamali, when you say the halacha, you say the halacha is what is pertinent. There's purpose behind it, right? And here you know, Amalei Rava said halacha kamina, right? No, it's shver kushasya yisi mehalacha sheinu neheges hayom. It's hard for me. That it's not what? It's not noyeg today. That's what he's saying.
You want to get someone? You want to get someone?
Like a shmur, you know, for
Want to get somebody?
What if
Okay, you guys don't have to have a kaddish.
Is he considered one of the nine? Oh.